Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite sports icons and athletes. I'm Boom Gonzalez. And in tonight's game plan, we'll talk about the race to the championship of the PVL All-Filipino Conference as Creamline awaits their opponent in the finals.
We'll also dive into more semifinals action, but this time on the men's volleyball scene in the Spikers turf. And we'll do a quick recap of the standouts in round 1 of the UAAP Season 85 Women's Volleyball. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. Well, the Cool Smashers have successfully booked their ticket to the 2023 PVL All-Filipino Conference Finals. Creamline defeated the F2 Logistics in straight sets in Game 2 of the semis, and they will now wait for the winner of Game 3 of the PLDT Petrogas clash happening tomorrow. Now, to give us a preview of that crucial match, we have with us volleyball analyst Mela Tunay. Welcome back to the studio.
Finally!
Hi, Pao. Hi, Boo.
Finally, last time was still via Zoom, so
Yeah.
it's good to have you back.
You know, she came in straight from work, and we really appreciate the time. So let's first talk about that sweep for Creamline. A lot of people, we love this matchup, F2 versus Creamline. Everyone's been talking about it forever. And this time, a lot on the line. Creamline obviously getting the sweep. What did you see in that game?
Well, I'm sure ang dami ding fans na disappoint na sila yung magka-match up because,
Sa
di ba, a lot
semis.
of fans gusto both teams in the finals dahil nga much anticipated palagi yung Creamline and F2, and it's also an interesting storyline na before the semifinals wins of Creamline, laging F2 na nanalo sa kanila. So, I guess what happened lang talaga is that Creamline had a different motivation going back to the finals. Meanwhile, F2 somehow it's already an achievement for them na nag-semi sila kasi in the past
Best finish, yeah.
in the past 2 tournaments, they weren't able to deliver that well na umabot sa semifinals, and yung injuries pa rin will always have always been there for them, and their best scorer this conference in Myla Pablo and of course with Kiana D underperformed. Personally, I think they underperformed in the semi-series. Of course, Myla not playing in that semis Game 1. And even when Kiana D top scored for the team, it's not the usual intensity that we see from her. So I think those were also a big factor.
11 points for Kim Kiana D in that game. Of course, we talked about Myla Pablo a while ago, only 9. She did play, despite that injury she had in Game 1.
The head-to-head between the two teams are now at 2-2. So for the fans, okay, more to look forward to. It's a legit rivalry now between, these big Titanic teams. Okay, Myla Pablo came back in game number 2, but as you said, wasn't the same. Obviously, hobbled by an injury. But what was the biggest factor? Bakit sweep yung nangyari in your opinion? Especially, I think yung set 2, mabigat yung dulo na nakawala sa F2 because they had it. They had the lead, and I felt like that could have changed how the match went. But what did Creamline do to sweep them?
Generally, para everything just worked for Creamline. The technical part of the game, the breaks of the game, the other intangibles like them coming from behind in that second set yesterday. Kasi I feel like that's the one that demoralized F2 eh. Kasi kanila na yun, they were at the lead for a long duration during that second set, and that could have kept them alive, their morale, di ba? But after being, after Creamline keeping up, getting that win, parang syempre yung gana,
Bumagsak,
yung pagod,
no?
yung gana na nakikin, tas nawala na yung
parang
gana.
ramdam mo yun. Parang lumalabas sa'yo, Mela, naalala mo yung mga gano'n na, yung nakawala, yung mga nakawalang games, right? So,
And on the technical side naman, before kasi when it's Creamline and F2, lamang talaga sa atake itong Creamline, pero hindi ganun kalaki, like 10 lang, but yesterday it was really a big disparity, and the errors of Creamline usually malaki, pero yesterday they were able to limit
Yeah,
that.
to keep it down. And of course, just to illustrate yung point ninyo, that second set was 40 minutes long.
Right.
So that was pretty
ang
long.
daming challenges.
by the
Naubos.
staff.
Inubos yung challenges.
So you take a look at what happened here, and because of this, there's going to be a pretty long break here for Creamline as a way to the winner of the PLDT Petrogas matchup. Credits first to Tots Carlos, 19 points, 18 attacks and a single ace. How will the break help Creamline as they await right now the winner of the matchup we're going to talk about in just a bit?
I think hindi na applicable sa kanila yung mawawala ng momentum pag may break. Kasi I think Creamline honestly needs rest right now. I mean, Eliza's not playing, but other than that, may naririnig tayo mga ninonurse na minor injuries, like si Tot, sometimes Celine, nakita natin minsan she's really limping within the rally. So they need that rest, and I'm sure with their motivation nga na they're already a step closer to, again, getting a championship. I don't think they'll get distracted and they'll make the most out of that rest.
Yeah, they love resting. So, not on their laurels, but resting in between games. But it won't be too long will they find out who the opponent is. Tomorrow is Petrogas and PLDT. What happened in this series? Although, ito yung gusto ng fans eh. Kala mo, ito na ang mangyayari, pero ito pala ang mangyayari. PLDT with a comeback win yesterday.
Yesterday,
you did that game.
Yeah, I did. And looking at the body language of PLDT after Petrogas crushed them in the first set.
Yes.
I was like, parang ito yung quickest game I'm gonna cover. Kasi usually nga 5 sets. Pero nagkaroon din ako ng hint when Michelle Morente started with her streak of points. Sabi ko kasi, may mabuhay lang isa dito, may chance eh. And then she also, eventually she got support from Jovi Prado, and then, everyone just gradually improving their game. Kasi during the first set, the middles were really absent. And even Mean Mendrez, na she's all over the stats in the elims. Biglang hindi siya makapalo. She looked so down yesterday. But when she got back to her groove, wala na. Larga na ulit yung PLDT, and at the same time, ito namang Petrogas, na wala naman yung kanilang yung panlaban nila na efficiency. Kasi blocking and spiking during the first set, they were just really on point.
So, Michelle Morente, 16 points. Jovi Prado, 15. You mentioned si Mendrez had 11. Mika Reyes also coming back with 11 points. You go into the next game, and I don't know what's going to happen. Kasi nakita natin nung game 1, we thought that this Petrogas team had the number of PLDTs. Sa set number 1 ng game 2, we still thought the same way. How do you look at game 3 and how these two teams will approach it?
Actually, kapag gantong kapatas yung match, for me, hindi na talaga nagmamatter yung stats eh. Kasi if you look at how they won those games, same fashion lang. 4 sets, come from behind kasi the opposing team wins the first set and then babawian nila. So I think the team that gets to minimize their errors more, mas kaya. Kasi yung efficiency nila, both as a team, pagka in full effect, alam na sila yung lalaman dito, sila yung lalaman dyan. Pero kung sino yung nagko-collapse in the middle of the game, para they end up losing. So, I guess whoever stays more polished tomorrow.
Yun ang may lamang? So, sino may lamang? Coach O. Coach O will, obviously, he wants to get into the finals. Parang it's a little bit of a vindication for him. There is, I'm sure, a personal thing for him. Coach Ralph, mga dati niyang bata to. Who has the edge here, Mela, in your opinion?
I guess, momentum-wise na lang. Doon na lang ako magbabank on. Kasi hindi rin, kumbaga, nung elims, nanalo yung PLDT, kinapitan nila yung game, 5 sets win over the Petrogas Angels. And then, nung semifinals game 1, nakabawi yung Petrogas. Pero, dikitan lang talaga eh. Pero, pag titingnan mo yung composition also ng team. Of course, we know veterans na yung yung Angels, but yung pagiging all-around players, like talking about itong sila Jovi Prado, kasi nakikita ko talaga how she performs well parang in all aspects of the game. So I feel like mas marami lang creative weapons itong si Rhea de Maculangan na kaya pang i-activate. So if that works for them, they might have a bigger chance tomorrow.
Ganda nung setup nung setter matchup din pala natin for
and
those
Kat Arado
teams.
also. We cannot not mention her.
Which was your player of the game yesterday. She was tremendous. And we will see all of them tomorrow. Dahil tomorrow yan at the Mall of Asia Arena, if I'm not mistaken, the do-or-die match between Petrogas and PLDT. Hinga muna, Mela, because you'll still be with us after the break. We'll break down the semifinals action in the 2023 Spikers Turf naman. So stay tuned. You're watching the game. Hello, you're still watching the game. We'll go from one semifinals to another, but this time in the men's volleyball arena. The Cignal HD Spikers swept Imus in the first game of the semifinals in the Spikers turf. And still with us to discuss all that happened, fresh from that match, is volleyball analyst Mela Tunay. All right, before we get to the match, and reminding the audience that this is a round, a robin format, unlike what happened in the PVL, correct? Let's talk about Cignal just in general first and how dominant they've been this season.
I think in terms of dominance, talagang inangkin na nila lahat ng departments. I think 4 out of the 6 departments, they are ranked number 1. So goes to show how good their system is and how well the players are really adapting to that kind of system kay Coach Dex. And earlier, pinag-usapan nga namin na coming into this game, they have extra motivation kasi they were gunning for history also na no set drop.
Walang sabit.
Walang sabit. And parang it's ironic.
Sumabit ng isa, no?
It's ironic in a sense na after that set drop against NU, syempre, mas batang team versus veteran team, dinibdib talaga nila na it's as if that was a loss. Pero ganun silang ka-determined now na okay, no signs of complacency, entering the semifinals, hopefully the finals as well. And talagang nakita namin how different din yung nilaro nila versus yung nilaro nila nung Sunday when they dropped that set. So kanina, everyone really contributed, even their second stringers na pinasok. Had streak of points, 3 points, 4 points para sa mga magic bunots nila. So, makikita na lahat talaga sila nag-respond well to that wake-up call.
Well, for those wondering about the numbers, si Marcus Peo finished with 19 points. Itong si Isay Marasigan backed him up with 13, and Wendell Miguel and JP Bugawan with 10 and 8 markers respectively. But you take a look at this Cignal team, kasi last season, last conference, they were not able to win it. They came here with a silver medal. They weren't very happy about it. At parang yung galawan na lang ngayon, parang revenge tour eh. And did you feel that sa laban na to? Because again, a sweep, dominant sweep, a good sweep here, despite having a bit of adversity in this game.
Nakita ko talaga, and even with Marcus Pe's interview kanina, sabi niya, sa in-improve nila, kaya pang mas may ipakita pa. So that's, I think, the little part about this team is they never settle. Kaya nga sabi mo, yung silver, parang hindi sila happy doon, di ba? So they're very determined. We know that they have a winning tradition dito sa Cignal Men's Volleyball. And, you know, sabi ko nga sila yung home of men's volleyball superstars. And they really embody that. Not just in skills eh. Kitang-kita natin sa stats yung skills. Pero pag pinanood mo sila, how they communicate with each other, how they lift each other up. Dahil yung first set and second set kanina, come from behind win yun. Imus was really leading the whole time. And then nung end game, doon nila pinakita all they've got to address their closing out problems. So I guess they're really more lethal this conference compared to the last one that they lost.
Well, so just a quick update on what's happening on the other matchup. It's between the AMC Cotabato Spikers and the D Navigators Iloilo. Right now, 2-0 up in terms of sets. Itong D Navigators.
Happening as we speak.
Happening right now, and they're all tied up at 20 and 20 all right now, going in the third set. But this is a matchup na this D Navigators team lost to the AMC Cotabato Spikers, who only lost to Cignal. So there's a bit of a storyline they're developing. Like, this is yung bogey team dapat namin when you talk about the D Navigators Iloilo. You know, we understand that we don't really cover these guys too much, but then we still have a lot of stars to watch out for. Like itong si Discatado coming for si D Navigators Iloilo has really been shining here.
Yeah, actually this game parang preview ng scoring showdown sa ni Umandal and Discatado. I'm just not sure, since the game is ongoing, I'm just not sure how both of these young players are performing. Pero, you know, 11 teams in the Spikers turf, and for these two na actually considered two of the younger squads compared to the others, to make it this far, goes to show about the pool of talent that they have in their lineups.
Let's talk about real quick as a last parting shot for Imus. They were doing well, as you said. Wala lang panapos.
Yeah.
So what are the positives to take since this is a round robin still?
Oh, we failed to mention a lot of men's volleyball fans are waiting that Bagunas Espejo showdown. Kasi dapat maglalaro si Brian today.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what Ish told me.
Actually, when I got there, yun ang una ko hinanap. Asa si Brian? Pero he did not make it as per the report of the team. He's gonna play on March 29th. So he's gonna miss the semis. So it's either he plays in the finals or in the battle for bronze.
Right.
But everyone's really anticipating a showdown between those two.
Ooh, let's see. I hope that happens. I really hope that happens. But Mela, you know what? We're not done with you yet. Because after the break,
nakatali siya dyan, nakatali.
we'll find out who stood out in the UAAP women's volleyball scene as we wrap up the first round of season 85. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back. You're watching The Game. It's a wrap for round one of the UAAP Season 85 Women's Volleyball Tournament. Now let's find out who shined the brightest as we put together the standouts who can possibly make a difference in round number two. Now we still have with us here volleyball analyst Mela Tunay, and now we're thinking about changing the name of the show to The Game with Mela Tunay. Mela, grabe, that first round was incredible. Topped off, of course, with that sweep from LaSalle to NU. There's just so much to discuss here. You take a look at the games that happened today. And is that a shock for you, una-una? I mean, or were you not surprised with what happened between LaSalle and NU in particular?
Well, sobrang na-shock ako kasi parang I was expecting na after the lump na NU's experiencing, they would have addressed that sa mga, of course, sa trainings nila and knowing their culture as well. Yung mga bata, pag kinausap mo yun, maririnig mo gano'n silang kapalaban. And of course, Coach Carl, a very focused coach. So, I did not even expect na magiging 3-set win lang ito.
Yeah.
Yes, but
And dominant, huh?
Dominant.
You can say that's dominant, especially the first set was 25-10, second set was 25-15. So that, anybody's book, is a dominant win. The chance to go back against them again is on Saturday. Mela, is that good? Is that bad? Is it good for someone? I'm sure yung momentum nasa LaSalle, the confidence is so high. Confidence ng NU medyo dumapa. Paano ang approach mo niyan kung ikaw ang NU for Saturday?
Well, I think
kayo
it's
ulit.
definitely good for Lasal dahil na-carry pa nila yung momentum. And to beat a team like NU, kakaibang fulfillment na yun sa panahon ngayon. Kasi of course, last year they were undefeated and Lasal went against them in the finals pero they did not parang even stay close in terms of the competition. Parang
did not win a set the whole year. Yeah.
So parang yung momentum nga nasa Lasal and the players really having that high confidence. Meanwhile for NU, I'm not sure how well they take losses. We haven't seen them, diba, bounce back from big losses like that. I mean, they lost to UST, pero naka-recover sila, but not against a super top team like Lasal. So last year, they did not have any pressure games at all dahil they really were afar in terms of the
competition.
Standings.
Competition. Okay.
So, yung pressured version ng NU women's volleyball team, we are yet to see.
We're about to discover it. We're about to discover it.
Good point.
Of course, the other matchup was a sweep for Adamson against UP. They end the round on a winning note. Let's see how far they can go. Of course, there are some Adamson players on the list that we have here today. So, when you take a look at this list, Mela, anong criteria mo? Picking out the standouts here. This is not necessarily, top scorer, therefore siya yung top one and so on and so forth. Ano yung criteria mo?
Well, ako kasi kapag namimili ako ng ganyan, it's either, kunyari, pagka sinabi ko yung team, yun yung una kong maalala kasi siya yung pinakamatunog. Or yung role niya na, okay, itong team na to, kilala na merong main scorer to, so siya yung next best support. So parang how they complement the whole team in general.
So we're looking at Adamson University right now. Let's look at your list. Unahin na natin first. Since you're looking at Adamson, you picked out 2 players from Adamson. Sige.
Well, for me, si Louie Romero na a lot of fans call Gia Light.
Right.
Yeah.
Kasi, di ba, parang
I would get rid of the light part already. She has really distanced herself in this season.
Yeah. But yeah, for Louie Romero, she's the most crucial factor as to why Adamson stands at number 2 right now. Dahil kahit na may mga team, grabe kasi yung labanan nung, at least the top 4 teams in the standing right now. Grabe yung labanan nila. Actually, sila lang yung merong 3-0 win over UST, but the other games they played against those teams are mga 5-setter.
Pushed NU to 5 also.
Except that Lasal Adamson
4.
as well. So, I guess she just really knows how to make the spikers shine.
Tapos si Trisha Tubu, pinili mo rin, right?
Yes, and of course, si Trisha Tubu, we can't deny the athleticism na ang hirap din talagang pantayan yung talent ng bata na to. So, she's really a top pick for me as well.
Of course, now moving on, we mentioned NU a while ago. You have Eliza Solomon as part of this. Again, number 1 spiker as of Sunday, number 2 best scorer as of Sunday. You take a look at what she's doing. If you're wondering kung sino hindi consistent, this girl is not that. She's very consistent for NU.
Actually, for me, the criteria in choosing Eliza Solomon is the consistency. Kasi despite the up and downs of NU, siya yung makikita ko na talagang very consistent.
All right. She is, I think, entering today's game, she had 104 points, 1 less than Ea Laures, so she's right up there. 2 new players are what you chose, 1 for UST, 1 for DLSU. We'll wrap up this conversation with them. Sino yung sa UST, sino yung nasa Lasal?
Well, for UST, I chose itong si Jurado. The Chief Justice as the fan scorer.
Yes.
Well, nakakatuwa lang makakita ng bata na talagang yung character is palaban. I think I see a lot of Ea Laura in her. Magkaiba ng form, magkaiba ng diskarte, ng paglalaro. Pero yung character nila, and I think all of that will be credited from their high school coach, Coach Kung Fu, that carried them to the women's program.
And from Lasal,
of course, Angel Canino, who would not pick this girl? I mean, like I mentioned off-air, sabi ko, for me, she's the best rookie as of date na parang all-time. Kasi, we can take away na lahat ng training, ng preparation, nasa generation na ngayon. But in terms of talent talaga, we can't deny that she's the best right now.
She's got length, she's got height, she's got athleticism. She has crowd charisma. And the comparisons to the skyrocketing Eliza Valdez, Mela, do you see that?
Well, pag magbukas ka ng social media, yun na agad yung mga comparisons. But of course, both of them different and special at their own right. So we're gonna see how well itong si Angel Canino maximizes this fame that he's building right now.
I'll tell you what, Paul's happy.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy. I should have worn green today. Pero Mela, maraming salamat. Thank you for staying for the entire show. We really appreciate you.
Pwede mo nang tanggalin yung tali. At ang kadena. Thank you very much for joining us, Mela. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Boom Gonzalez.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.